Okay, hello and welcome back to my channel. Sorry for the stop and restart. For some reason OBS wasn't capturing the game. So kind of hard to live stream the game when I can't even get it to show up. So I had to restart OBS in order for it to work. Well, actually, I think I ended up restarting both separately, but either way, it works now. Okay. So, if anyone had watched my playthrough of Gilded Shadows, you know that I was enjoying it very much. That was Romancing Reuben. So this is by the same creator. This is actually their first game that they did. Gilded Shadows was their second. So, according to the itch page, Changeling is a non-stat raising full-length visual novel about love, reconciliation, and trying to survive in a dangerous supernatural world. Play through about 30 to 40 hours of content and over 40 unique endings while trying to survive the perils of a newly discovered paranormal community. Romance one of 6 love interests adds to uncover information about the supernatural and the secrets from your own past, all while you try to patch up your relationship with your twin brother who grows more and more suspicious of you with each passing day. So that's the description of the game. The story: the human world accepted as reality is only a thin veneer under which lies a world of supernatural creatures, entities, and people. They live beside humans, but hiding their nature or walking among them unseen, and most people go about their lives entirely unaware of the dangers around them. Mysterious situations are written off as fake, or they're glossed over with some sort of mundane explanation. The same was true for Nora, a normal girl struggling with the usual litany of everyday problems, including her crumbling relationship with an angry, resentful twin brother with whom she's nearly given up on reconciling. But her family's return to the town in which she'd grown up set in motion a chain of events that would shatter every illusion she had about a world she thought she knew. Her eyes newly open to the truth around her, Nora begins a journey to uncover the secrets of her own mysterious past and the reason for her brother's bitter hatred toward her. Alongside her best friend and a group of unusual guys she met after her return, Nora begins to chip away at the lies shrouding her life, lies that have been haunting her since childhood. But in a world where vampires, werewolves, and fairies are real, learning the truth may come at a high cost. So this is only the demo. This is not the full game. I will probably end up buying the full game. It depends on how I enjoy the demo. But if it's anything like Gilded Shadows, I'm going to enjoy it very much. And it looks like it's the same artist, which makes sense. Hi! Yes, I have played through most of the other romances for Gilded Shadows. I think the only ones I'm missing are Caleb and Lance. I've done all the other romances. So this is basically the same developer who did Gilded Shadows. So I'm expecting a similar quality writing, maybe slightly different because this is their first attempt rather than their second. But for the most, it's clearly a different story, and I'm really looking forward to experiencing it. Okay, so jumping right in. Okay, so, and of course I have my trusty notes that I'll be taking. I don't know if I'll actually be transferring any of these to the full game, the full playthrough if I do, but it doesn't hurt to take notes because I am bad at remembering stuff anyway. Okay, so you bought another Otome game. Oh, yeah, so this developer has a third game that they're working on called When Stars Collide. The demo for that is out. And they also released a game that they worked on with other developers called Fairy, which I am planning to try that too. Where is it? There we go. A Fairy's Tale. So that's definitely on my to-play list. I actually have it already downloaded and everything. But the fairy game is with other creative people. So that will definitely be a future live stream, I'm sure. There's a lore book for Gilded Shadows that I have refrained from buying until I finish all the routes, so I only have 2 left there. So the focus is on Changeling right now. I don't like to stick with the default name. I've done that before and it drives me crazy. So I picked Dahlia for my favorites so far in Gilded Shadows. It's hard to say. They all have their good points and their bad points. But honestly, I think I still enjoyed Ruben's route the most. Though it was really cool. But I mean, obviously, I did Quill's route, and I expected to at least have some reference to Ruben. So it was great to see that connection from the other side. But I did not expect to run into Ruben and Winter again in Case's route. That was surprising. I literally was stimming a little when I saw their sprites on the screen. I was so delighted. But Magnus's route, there was a point in that one where I literally cried. Tears literally ran down my face because she was so devastated, so upset by the council's actions. I think it was chapter 7 and 8. Like it started with chapter 7 and then went into chapter 8. I even sent an ask to the Steamberry tumblers because I just had to gush and tell her how good it was that she made me feel that way. So I still have 2 routes left to do. I'm gonna do Caleb's route and then I'm gonna do Lance's route last. Magnus's route gave me an idea of what's going to happen with Lance's route. He probably did because she did respond to that. She said she had to go back and look at what I was talking about. But yeah, I kind of have an idea what's going to happen with Lance's route. That's why I'm saving it for last. So I've basically, I've used pretty much all the customization options for the main character in Gilded Shadows by this point. Because of course I created a completely different main character for each route because that's the way I roll. So okay, so we picked Dahlia for Gilded Shadows, so I'm gonna pick Lily for Changeling. Maybe I'll do Rose for When the Stars Collide. We'll see. Billy Lewis. Let's actually stick with Blumenthal, just for the fun of it. That moment Endgame counts as number 1 on my hit list? Yeah, absolutely. I was so pissed. Like, so far the only time you haven't butted heads with the Endgame Council if you romance someone from Endgame was Ari's route. I need to go back and actually look at that again. Okay. And now the story begins, Lily Blumenthal. So, save. So I have to be picky about when I save because Not many save slots. That's annoying. When I was little, I dreamed of being carried away to a far-off land. It was a recurring dream of flying through the air, surrounded by softly singing voices. I love the butterfly. My mom loves butterflies. Back then, I read book after book of old fairy tales in my grandmother's study, the kind where good children didn't always make it out of the dark swamp unscathed, and sometimes the goblins won. Yeah, I did, actually, I took notes so I could keep track of my decisions since I couldn't just save every time I wanted. So I did Ari first because I'd already started his route, and then I did Quill, and then Jack, and then Magnus, and then you, and then Kesa. So I tried to kind of alternate. So Caleb and then Lance is last because it feels like there's something unique going to happen with his route. During the day, I would run through the forest by our house and pretend the stories were real. Every tree was a sentinel watching over me, and rustling leaves were the sweet whispers of fairies, coaxing me further and further from the house. Then it all crumbled. The trees and games had to be left behind. Books were left to gather dust on shelves, and dreams were left to fade into memory. Years passed, and all that remained were the distant games and pretend play of childhood. Back then, I didn't know that real fairy tales were darker than anything I could possibly have dreamed up on my own. Chapter 1, Homecoming, Common Route. So I don't know if this is going to take one stream or two. It depends on how long the common route is, which I assume is a demo. We had nearly reached the new house. I was eager to get out of this cramped car and see the new place. The long road trip wasn't agreeing with me, but I couldn't complain too much. After 5 years in a city I hated, we were finally moving back to Pine Hollow, the place where I grew up. That alone was enough to help keep my sanity intact during the tense, awkward trip back. Unfortunately, the reason behind the move wasn't entirely good. Grandpa had fallen ill and was under strict orders to take it easy and avoid stress. He needed Dad's help with his business. Dad wasn't too happy about leaving his current job or our house in the city behind, much less moving back across state lines to our previous home. I was, though. I missed Grandma and Grandpa. I missed the trees and the looming embrace of the mountains that made Pine Hollow feel enclosed and protected. I missed my best friend. What I wouldn't miss was the stifling humidity of the city, constant smell of hot rubber and car exhaust. I hear that. I don't like that smell, but I live in a city. Not to mention the lack of stars at night and the way rain made everything smell like rust instead of warm earth. It wasn't all terrible. The parks were pretty, and being near the water had been fun. School hadn't been awful. I was hardly the loner girl skulking in the corners. I'd had friends, and I missed them. But the city had never felt like home, and Allie wasn't just a friend. She was a family. I smiled slightly as the scenery beyond the car windows became more and more familiar. My tiredness faded to be replaced by excitement. This new house isn't that far from the old one, is it? They're only a few miles apart. This one's in a different neighborhood, though. Lots of trees, very wooded. You two will like it. Dad said that, but from the look on Spencer's face, I didn't think it was true. Not for Spencer, anyway. Dad pointed to a small forested mountain a few miles ahead. The neighborhood is nestled right at the foot there and winds up the slope. It feels rural, but it's within walking distance of the town square. I was glad it didn't look like much development had happened in the years we've been gone. In fact, it didn't look like much had changed at all. So much forest! Looks easy to get lost in. I gave him a sharp look and found him staring at me in that disquieting way he'd picked up over the last few years. He was already trying to start a fight about that. I quickly looked away. Another thing I missed was me and Spencer being close, like everyone seemed to think twins ought to be. I didn't think that just moving back to Pine Hollow was going to fix that, though. especially since that remark was clearly a well-aimed jab at me. I let it go already. No one is going to get lost, and I want you both to give me your word you'll be careful in the forest. I don't want to have to ban you from hiking. The stream isn't moving. Okay, the stream manager isn't showing the video, but OBS is fine. Hang on. What's going on? Okay. Now it's showing up. That's weird. And now Mom was starting too. I sighed and slumped back in the seat, watching the trees slide past as a kaleidoscope of fall colors. My childhood tendency to get lost in the woods hadn't exactly been a problem in the city. Lack of actual woods and all that. But now that we were moving back to a town that actually had space to roam, I suppose everyone was getting worried. It wasn't that I didn't get it. Right before we moved away, for the second time in my childhood, I had wandered into the woods and couldn't find my way back. I was missing for more than a week. 5 years later, and my family was still shadowed by the repercussions of what had happened back then. The realtor said there are trails, but you know that probably means animal trails, not actual hiking trails. It can be dangerous if you aren't careful. We're not little kids anymore. There are lots of coyotes here, and cougars, even bears. There's also a pretty deep ravine in the woods behind the house, from what I understand. We just want to make sure everyone stays safe. Now that we're back, we don't want... Jeez, it's been 5 years. Couldn't entirely blame everyone for their uneasiness about the whole thing. Of course I wanted them to move on. Everything back then had been my fault. Not just the drama the family had been forced to endure, but also what had happened to Spencer. Those wounds hadn't exactly healed overnight. Not the emotional ones, not the physical ones, and definitely not the one inflicted on our relationship. And it didn't matter how many times I'd apologized. Dad turned onto a quiet street that wound its way up into the trees. A few rooftops poked through the foliage. It was a great neighborhood that reminded me a little of where we'd lived before. The sweetness of nostalgia helped wash away some of the lingering bitterness from the previous conversation. I loved the place from the moment we turned onto the street and passed over a trickling creek that vanished into the woods. Down at the foot of the mountain and within walking distance of the houses was the main street of the town, filled with little shops and restaurants. But the neighborhood, hidden behind a thick wall of trees and curled around the mountainside, felt secluded and quiet. It was beautiful and perfect. Lily, go check the boxes up in your room to make sure they put the right ones there. I'll let you unpack your things first. I want you downstairs to help in the kitchen. Spencer, same for you. Movers had already arranged most of the furniture in the house under Grandma's supervision, but the boxes with the smaller items and personal belongings still needed unpacking. Since she had to take care of Grandpa, Grandma couldn't do much more than tell them where to put the furniture and try to get the basics set up for us. We still had a ton of work to do. Mom immediately busied herself trying to hang curtains and make the house look lived in. Dad started ripping into the boxes in the family room. There we go. I can read, really. Spencer vanished upstairs. I left Mom in the kitchen and went to take a look at the rest of the downstairs. This house is really great. I'm glad you like it, honey. It wasn't new, but had been completely renovated inside. It looked modern and new, but it still felt old and full of memories, and someone else's history. I love it already. My bedroom was right next to Spencer's. The only thing separating them was a small shared bathroom. That was going to be so much fun. He didn't act like any intrusion into his personal space was a huge affront, so I had to walk on eggshells if I didn't want to fight with him. I'm glad that's not the case for me and my siblings. I could only begin to imagine his whining about having to share counter space with all my icky girl things, like a hairbrush and hand lotion. The horror. That aside, my room was pretty nice. It is pretty nice. That does look really good. And I love blues and greens, so this is perfect. It was bright and airy, and I loved seeing my things already put exactly where I'd have put them anyway. It looks like Grandma even got my bed ready. All I had to do was unpack the rest of my personal stuff. Started with my school things, pulling the tape off one box to get at what was inside. Suddenly the door to my side of the bathroom burst open. Spencer stalked in, dropping a dusty box on my clean bedspread. He could have at least knocked. They gave me one of yours. Don't pick a fight. Just stay calm. I moved the box to the floor without saying anything. Spencer started to leave immediately. Hang on, let me make sure I don't have any of yours. Hopefully he didn't make a habit of bursting in. Being my twin brother didn't mean he got to invade my privacy whenever he wanted. Yeah, it took a while to get my brother to stop doing that too. I had to basically train him to knock on my door before he enters. Especially since he'd had an aneurysm if I had slammed into his room that way. Quickly sorted through the boxes to see if any of his were lurking in my room. Sure enough, I found one with his name clearly scrawled on the top. Here, I think this one has some of your clothes. I nudged the box toward him with my foot. He scowled at me before picking it up and stalking back to his room. The door on his side of the bathroom slammed shut. Yeah, you're welcome. It felt like every interaction with him was like that lately. It was worse than ever, actually. But then he wasn't likely to forget his negative memories of Pine Hollow soon. And I was pretty sure he was just annoyed by the fact I was happy to be back. He'd never loved it the way I had anyway. I rolled my eyes and continued pulling things out of boxes. Patience, patience. Well, basically, my brother and also our parents kind of drilled it into our heads to knock on each other's doors before poking our heads in. And generally speaking, if the door is latched, wait for acknowledgement before you actually open it. But if it's cracked or open partway, then go ahead and enter, just knocking is a way to alert the other that we're there. Still, even if I accepted responsibility for what happened back then, I didn't think it meant I also had to sentence myself to guilt and misery forever. Not for something that had happened when I was 12, something I couldn't even remember. So, if this happened 5 years ago and they were 12, then that means they're 17 now. Left my boxes on the floor and went to peer out the window. I'm home. Pressed my head against the glass. The trees swayed slightly in the fall breeze. It was probably stupid to say that I felt more complete in this town. At a glance, it looked like dozens of others you could find scattered through the area. It was beautiful and sunny, and sometimes really eerie. There were days when the clouds hung low over the mountains, the fog was super thick through the trees. You could almost imagine that it was haunted. The truth was that I felt I'd lost something in this place 5 years ago. Maybe I was only happy to be here because I felt that now I had the chance to get it back. I left the window and went back to unpacking before Mom started yelling at me to come join the battle of unbubble wrapping the kitchenware. Bubble wrap is fun because you can pop it. In any case, I was being distressingly sentimental. Pine Hollow was special to me, maybe, but it wasn't special in general. It was one of those dinky little towns with more urban legends than any reasonable person could count. There were hundreds of stories about creepy things happening in the woods. And for every unlikely story, there were dozens of people willing to believe it. That's probably why people were so quick to leap on the oddities of my disappearances. They weren't really even that odd. At least I didn't think so. The rational public wrote them off as strange but explainable. I got lost, then got unlost. Big deal. Though, to be fair, the first time it happened I was 9, and then I got unlost, and when I got unlost I was also unhurt, even after 10 days in the woods alone. It was definitely lucky I got home safely. It wasn't supernatural, not like some people apparently insisted. It was just the amnesia that caught people off guard. I couldn't remember a thing that happened while I was missing. I still couldn't. But psychogenic amnesia was a thing. What kid would want to remember being terrified in the woods for a week and a half? Not me, clearly. I started filling my closet with my clothes and carefully lined up my shoes and boots. I should totally get a new pair to celebrate being home. Let's get some shoes. I left the closet and began arranging my study things on the desk. We'd be starting back to school on Monday, after an inevitably busy weekend. The same private school we'd gone to before we left. That was the only thing I had mixed feelings about. There had just been such a fuss about my last disappearance, the one when I was 12. That one had been the real catalyst for everything. That had been when everything just broke. I'd been missing for nearly 2 full weeks. Hang on, we're gonna save. Feels like it's a good spot to save. I've been missing for nearly 2 full weeks. The newspapers were writing dramatic and hopeless stories. There was speculation about whether I was a runaway or if it was a ploy for attention. After all, it had happened to me before. Hi, James. Yeah, I finished Gilded Shadows last week, so this is the demo for a different game by the same developer. So, kind of similar, but there's no customization options, and if this works like the demo for Gilded Shadows, then it's just going to be the common route for the game. There were search parties out every day looking for any sign of me. My parents were heartbroken. Again, Spencer was out with the search party one evening and got separated from them. They heard a scream and feared the worst, but he ran out of the woods a short time later in hysterics, clutching at one of his eyes. Then I walked out after him in a daze, but unharmed. They never found anything wrong with his eye. He lost the vision in it, but no one knew the reason. He was saying a lot of crazy things at the time. No one knew if he'd hit his head or had maybe gotten attacked by a stray cougar. And again, I didn't remember a thing. There was a lot of public interest in the incident due to the fact there was a second one involving our family, and me specifically. People love mysteries, and I had given them one. If I wasn't making it up, and I wasn't, then what sort of trauma could give me amnesia twice? No one could do anything but speculate, endlessly. My family tried to just get on with life, but it hadn't been easy. There was just too much stupid speculation and skepticism. At school, there were rumors that we'd both done the whole thing for attention, and Spencer's injury was fake, that he had a psychotic episode and tried to kill me. It was a mess. And so we just left. Why am I even thinking about this again? I shook off all those old negative thoughts. It was years ago. People had forgotten. Everything was going to be fine. I stacked the empty boxes off to the side. On the opposite side of the room, I set up my painting things. The cabinet for my art supplies was nearby, and I quickly stacked everything inside. The sunny room was going to be perfect for painting. It even faced north. I love that they remembered that when they picked this room for me. Lily, are you finished yet? I'm nearly done. Give me a few more minutes. I turned my attention to my small library of old books. I had all the classics, all used and worn and beautiful, and of course there was lots of Shakespeare. It only took a few minutes to get the books on the shelves. Silly rabbit, the internet never forgets. Exactly. It took only a few minutes to get the books on the shelves. I'd try to organize them properly tomorrow. Once I was finished unpacking, I gave my room a satisfied once-over before heading downstairs to help Mom unpack the kitchen. What should I do with the boxes in my room? We'll have to figure out what the recycling pickup schedule is so we can crush them and set them out. For now, just leave them. Okay. Meanwhile, can you set these out on the back porch? She motioned to a few large empty flower pots near the table. No problem. When you're back, I have a few things for you to take to the basement. Yay. Come on, hurry it up. Aye, Captain. The sass is strong with her. I headed to the stack of pots and managed to wobble my way to the back door with them. Navigating the door handle was a bit interesting, but I managed to get outside without breaking anything. I set them down near one of the brick columns and looked across the overgrown backyard. Something interesting caught my eye, and I hopped off the porch to go investigate. At the back, in a little hollowed-out area near the fence, was a large ring of white mushrooms with round caps. A fairy ring! I smiled as I crouched down and poked one of them. We'd had one at our last house, too. Dad had tried everything to get rid of it, but it was very persistent. No matter what he treated it with, it always came back. He wouldn't be happy about it, but for some reason I liked having it hit there. I smiled slightly, remembering playing with Spencer in our previous backyard. We'd play tag, and whoever made it inside the circle first would be safe. Or we'd lay inside and pretend we could see the fairies dancing on the mushroom tops or playing in the tree branches. I took a long, deep breath. So glad to be back. What are you doing out here? I sighed and stood, carefully brushing off my jeans. Why does he always have to sound so angry? Mom has more work for you to do, you know, if you have time between daydreaming and communing with nature. Is it possible for you to speak to me like I'm a human being? It would be if I was sure you were a human being. I hated the way he always said things like that with a completely straight face. Ha ha, very amusing. I assure you that sisters are indeed human. Brothers, however, I'm not sure about. Normally one would assume he hadn't meant it literally, but I could never tell with him. Just get back inside. As he turned away, he snapped a foot out, kicking over a few of the mushrooms. First choice. Okay, I have dice. We're going to use dice, since I didn't really use them for Gilded Shadows. There we go. I found a D4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. One. Stay calm. Why did he always try to ruin things just because I liked them? I wanted to get angry, but then we just fight, and I didn't want to fight with him anymore. It took all my self-control to swallow down the irritation. I stared at the broken fairy ring and bit my lower lip. You know, in stories, fairies tend to get pretty ticked off if you mess with their stuff. A strange look passed over his face, sort of confused and fearful at once. What the? Because it's a fairy ring? That's what a circular formation of mushrooms is called? Go with the Changeling child myth to explain things? I don't know. And this is only a demo, so we won't find out. Not right away. Whatever. He stalked back inside, leaving me by the broken fairy ring. I looked down at the crumbled mushrooms lying in broken bits on the grass. They'd grow back. It was stupid to care. I hated seeing something pretty messed up for a stupid reason. I hated that I had to ruin everything like some kind of creepy assassin of joy. I shoved my hands in my pockets and headed back inside. There was a quiet rustle of dried leaves behind me, and I glanced back. There was nothing there. Probably a squirrel or something. Casting one last glance at the fairy ring, I stepped back into the kitchen, prepared for a list of chores to complete before dinner. I was just glad Dad was already talking about ordering pizza instead of trying to cook. That night I had a vivid dream, and it was a sense I was looking for something that I had to find my way home. And that I had to find my way home. There were tall trees draped in emerald moss and groping branches that reached to the sun. There was faint singing, childish voices whose words I couldn't make out. It was a dream that left the taste and smell of warm, wet earth in my mouth as I woke. The smell quickly faded and was replaced by that of bacon and eggs as sunlight warmed my eyelids, beckoning me to wake up. I rolled over and snuggled deep into my blankets. Mom was already up. I could hear her downstairs talking to Dad as she cooked breakfast. The prickle of sunlight against my eyelids coaxed me out of sleep and warmed my face. Lily, I know you want to sleep in, but we still have a lot of unpacking to do. I'm up. Sort of. The last remnants of my dream faded as I staggered out of bed into my closet to rummage for something to wear. It was a dream I'd had many times, though not for a while. With that sense of having to get home, I assumed it was a dream from when I'd gotten lost in the woods. From when I'd gotten spirited away, as my grandmother always called it. Being back must have been dredging up some of the old feelings from back then. I glanced towards my home half-open curtains. It looks a bit chilly this morning. I should probably find something warm. This far north, it always felt like summer simply stopped abruptly, giving way to instant autumn. Yesterday, when we had arrived, it had been sunny with a hint of chill, but I was betting the mornings were pretty cold. Hey, Mom says to stop fooling around and get your butt downstairs. I nearly jumped out of my skin when he just walked into my room. In response, I snatched a stray sock and threw it his way. I'm getting dressed, you creep. Then shut the door. Fine. I marched across the room to slam the door in Spencer's face. I threw my clothes on and wrangled my curly hair into some semblance of a ponytail. Not exactly the height of stylishness, but we still had unpacking to do, and Mom could be a slave driver. Function over fashion or whatever. I got downstairs in time to see Mom setting out the plates. First breakfast in the new house. Wow, you really went all out. Bacon, eggs, even pancakes, and glorious, glorious coffee. Dad walked by munching on something and Mom scowled at him. Sit at the table if you want to eat. Too busy. He reached for another piece of bacon, but she slapped his hand. He just grinned at her. As soon as she turned away, he grabbed the bacon, shoved it in his mouth, then fled the room. I rolled my eyes at them and was about to sit when Mom yanked my breakfast away ruthlessly. What? She pointed to several garbage bags and a box by the door. Uh-oh. You said you'd take them out last night and didn't. The bags go to the bins out front and the box goes to the tool shed out back. Both of them, before breakfast. Mom, I'm hungry. I crave sustenance. I made sad whining noises and pawed at her for my plate. She wasn't buying it. Spencer swung by the table and took my plate out of her hand, snatched a slice of bacon off it, shoving it in his mouth. Like father, like son. Thanks, Mom. Looks delicious. That's mine, just so you know. He sidled past me, holding the plate just out of reach. There's plenty of food. Take the trash out, then you can eat. You were so mean. All of you. It was useless to argue. I already knew that. Sounds like a family, all right. I sighed and trudged to the door, following with a pair of flip-flops there before picking my poison and heading out. Okay. Well, we went to the backyard the night before, so let's take the bags out to the bins. Hope you know this is cruel and unusual punishment. It's not punishment, just fulfilling obligations. Cruel! Barely got the last word in before the door slammed shut. She was big about obligations and responsibilities. But considering that Dad was much worse, I probably shouldn't complain. I headed down the short drive to where the jumbled bins were sitting just behind the mailboxes. It was a gorgeous, crisp fall morning, chilly but invigorating. It's a real shame I was going to spend it cleaning and unpacking when I could be contacting Allie to hang out. We hadn't seen each other in 5 years, so I was really looking forward to catching up. I just hoped I'd at least have time to call her later in the day. I was in the middle of dropping the bags into the green bin when a loud crash, followed by a few desperate curses, came from just over the wooden fence. More crashes and what sounded like scattering cans and plastic bottles ensued. We hadn't met the neighbors yet, so I wasn't sure I wanted to go poking my nose over the fence, but it sounded like someone was having some major issues over there. No! There's the sound of scattering trash again. I tossed the bags in the bin and slammed the lid shut before taking a peek around the side of the fence. There was a boy about my age riding several garbage bins and hastily picking up scattered paper and plastics before shoving them in a blue container. Need a hand? Wah! I clearly startled him. In a rather spectacular display, he jumped nearly a foot in the air and somehow ended up on his butt on the ground. He stared up at me with pale green eyes. Okay, weird eyes. He jumped to his feet, snatched a plastic bottle off the grass as he did so. No, I got it. Just gotta pick everything up. He dropped the bottle into the recycling bin, giving me an embarrassed smile. They sort of attacked when I was bringing the trash out. Fair enough. I've waged epic battle with many a trash bin myself. They're a terrible enemy, to be sure. Oh yes, especially the blue ones. Have to watch out for those. They get me every time. We both laughed awkwardly. So, you're one of the new neighbors? Guilt is charged. I'm not quite charitable enough to take the trash out for complete strangers on a Saturday morning. Nice. He gave me a quick look up and down, then immediately turned red again and scrubbed the back of his neck as he bent to pick up more of the scattered trash. I mean, you know, it's nice to have someone my age move in instead of just weird old people or something. Okay, so he seemed nice. The purple hair was cool. I didn't mind the piercings either. I grinned slightly. Yeah, no weird old people over here. Oh, by the way, I'm Elliot. I'm Lily. Cool, Lily. I will totally remember that. Lily. He murmured my name to himself a few times as if trying to memorize it. So, awkward silence descended. Introductions were always so weird. Where are you guys moving from? Oh, just out of state. We used to live here a few years ago and just came back because my grandfather's sick. Sorry to hear that. Well, he's a bit better than he was, so it's okay, but we just want to be closer to them because of it. Makes sense. He gave me a sidelong look. So, starting school here soon then? I mean, you're still in high school, right? For another year. I'm a senior. Cool. Same here. My brother says senior too. Oh, so you're like twins or something? Yeah, lucky for you. I'm the nice one, though. Your favorite boy. So, vampire? Maybe. So your brother's the evil one? Sadly, yes. Spencer is evil. Ah, cool. Well, I mean, it's not cool that your brother is evil, but it's cool that I lucked out and met the good twin. I have a stepsister. She's also kind of evil. Ooh, an evil stepsister. That's pretty classic. Between you and me, we should probably make sure they never meet. The world would definitely be in peril. I bent down behind one of the bins to pick up some of the things he hadn't grabbed yet, smiling slightly. Oh, you don't have to do that. I don't mind. I liked him. He had a cute smile. Hey, Mozzie! I heard the voice and decided to pop my head up and see who was talking. Bad idea. Watch out! I barely even saw the football coming before it bounced off my head. Ow! Holy what? I was pretty sure I actually saw stars. My legs buckled and I immediately felt Elliot grab me around the waist to keep me standing. Whoa! Oh God, are you okay? His voice was right next to my ear. I could feel his breath ghosting across my cheek. Rapid footsteps sounded across my yard. I am so sorry. I didn't realize there was anyone else over here. No, it's okay. I've always wondered what it would be like to have my brain knocked loose. It's quite freeing. That's quite an arm you have. The new guy laughed awkwardly. I am so sorry. Are you okay? Should we help you inside? It wasn't exactly terrible being held by Elliot, but I decided I should probably pull away and try to stand on my own. I shook my head, trying to rid myself of the blurred vision. No, I'm good. Awkward silence descended before Elliot laughed nervously. That was kind of amazing. I laughed, then winced and reached up to touch the bump forming on my head. Ow. Let me look. I turned toward him and let him examine my forehead while I stared at his strange eyes. They were such an odd shade of green. I wondered if they were contacts. I couldn't imagine anyone having an eyes that color naturally. Well, you have a bump. Is that the official diagnosis, doctor? You should probably go put some ice on it. Man, I'm so sorry. I feel terrible. It's fine. Really, blame it on my utterly bad timing if you want. I'm Danny, by the way, king of terrible first impressions. It's a pleasure to meet you, your majesty. And by the way, Mozzie? Dumb nickname. I blame my stepsister. Just ignore it. What are you even doing up this early? I don't usually see you before noon if I don't come over and drag you out of bed, which is what I was about to do, by the way. A night owl? You could say that. He rubbed the back of his neck again. Cute. He seemed to do that a lot when he was embarrassed. I'm not much of a morning person either, right? Mornings suck. Too bright, too early. I like mornings. The only good thing about mornings is coffee. Lily, can you stop flirting and get back here to carry the rest of the crap out back? I flinched at the sound of Spencer's voice and shot a glare at the house just in time to see his auburn curls vanish back inside. The evil twin? Yes, unfortunately. We're still unpacking, so I should head back in. It was nice to meet you both. Hey, where are you going to school? We're both at Stone Circle Academy. Maybe we'll see you there? That's right. We'll be starting on Monday, so I'll definitely see you there. Nice. Don't forget to put ice on that. I waved at them both and headed back inside. I glanced back once and saw Danny elbow Elliot and say something to him. Elliot turned red and shoved Danny's shoulder. He caught me watching and waved sheepishly. I waved back and went inside laughing. Mom made a bit of a fuss over the bump on my head and insisted on an ice pack while I ate breakfast. But by the time I finished, she was already dictating the list of chores I had to take care of when I was done. It was going to be a long, long day. Okay, chapter 2. Stone Circle Academy. I can write, honestly. I don't see them anywhere. They were on the counter last night. Where are they? How the heck should I know? You never let me drive, so I don't keep up with the car keys. You two are going to be late for your first day if you don't find them soon. Not my fault. Spencer was scouring the house looking for the car keys that he insisted he'd left on the counter. I was rinsing the breakfast dishes and Mom was supervising. Spencer let out an exasperated groan from near the door where he was hunting around for the keys. Where's my other shoe? Oh my God, I don't know. I don't keep up with your stuff. I finished the dishes and wiped my hands, grabbing my book bag as I headed to the front door to see if Spencer had left the keys there instead. If I'm late because of you, we won't be late if you just help me find the keys. I wouldn't have to help you find them if you just keep up with your stuff. I walked to the front to check the little shelf by the cabinet there. No keys. I don't know why I opened the cabinet to check inside, but when I pulled the door open, I was confronted by Spencer's worn-out tennis shoe. I blinked at it in surprise. What the... I snatched it out of the cabinet and stalked back to the kitchen. I could only imagine that my sleep-deprived mom had put it there while doing the last of the unpacking. I wondered if Spencer had checked the fridge depth for the keys yet. At this rate, it wouldn't surprise me if that's where they were. I found your stupid shoe. Spencer looked up from his rummaging through the kitchen drawers for the keys. I tossed him the shoe, and as it somersaulted through the air tin, something flew out and hit the door with a decidedly metallic sound. We both looked down in surprise. The car keys were sprawled carelessly on the kitchen floor. What were the keys doing in his shoe? Spencer immediately glared at me. Don't look at me. I didn't put them there. Where did you find this? In a cabinet by the front door. I could tell exactly what he was thinking, but I just shrugged. Sorry, it wasn't me. I don't know why your shoe was there, but I'm not in the mood to hear you blame me for it. He just scoffed as he set the shoe down and shoved his foot in it. He snatched the keys off the floor. Yeah, right. Mom hurried back to the kitchen. We found them. Someone put them in the front cabinet. I don't know. Ask me. I don't know. Don't ask me. Maybe Dad did it. Whatever. Someone probably just wasn't paying attention. You two need to leave. Now. You still have to stop and check in at the office before class. She practically shoved us both through the door. And thus came the quiet, uncomfortable drive to school. Yay. Spencer was driving our shared car, and I was sitting quietly in the passenger seat, because fighting over who got to drive just wasn't worth it. I hated riding with him, though, but had no choice on that point. I was hoping after catching up with a couple of old friends, I might be able to start bumming a ride with one of them. In the meantime, though, so looking forward to your first day? We might not get along, but I hated awkward silences almost as much as fighting. It should not have been this painful to ride in a car with my brother for 10 minutes. Ah, yes, typical Spencer response. Curt, cryptic, utterly useless for conversation. I take that as a no. Depends how many classes I have with you. Really? Can we not start the day like this? Then can you not talk to me? I bit my lip and stared out the window. It would have been nice if we could have, I don't know, supported each other or something, like actual siblings. Okay. Dice time. Oh. I tweaked a rib out of place yesterday and it still hurts. 1, 2, 3, 4. One. Try again. I know being back has probably brought up some bad memories. I know that you're still angry at me. He didn't say anything. But if we could just talk about it. We can't talk about it. I winced as he started yelling. Ugh. This was a bad plan. You try to act so innocent when Mom and Dad are around. Try to go on as if nothing happened because you've forgotten. Some of us just can't just forget. I never said I forgot. I said I can't remember. Took a deep breath and leveled a serious look at him. As if I recall, you told everyone you couldn't remember either. He didn't look at me. I was sitting on the side with his bad eye, so he didn't even bother. What was I supposed to tell them? No one believed me when I told them the truth. What truth? All I remember you telling people was stopped myself and looked out the window. The unfinished sentence hung on the air between us. Didn't have to finish it for us both to understand how strange it sounded. Of course no one believed him. He told them I was some kind of monster, that I wasn't even his real sister. Who in their right mind would believe that anyway? Don't try to act like you don't remember what really happened. I know better. He said it so quietly I almost missed it. I just kept staring at the passing trees and didn't reply. I had no idea what I was supposed to remember. Turning into a monster, somehow magically stealing his vision? It had been years since he'd last said something that out of touch with reality. Was I supposed to believe he actually still thought something like that was true? I didn't even know how to respond. I chewed my lip anxiously, regretting talking to him. A few minutes later, we were pulling into the school parking lot. As soon as we parked, Spencer jumped out and went straight inside. I grabbed my stuff and slammed the door. I was not letting him ruin my day. By the time I got inside, he was already walking out of the office with his schedule in hand. He didn't even look at me. It didn't take long to get my own schedule printed. As I left the office, I heard a long, familiar squeal heading my way. Couldn't keep the grin off my face when I saw Allie Fisher, the one person I kept in touch with the last 5 years, barreling towards me. Lily, I just saw Spencer. Dang, he turned out nice. Ew, that's the first thing you're going to say to me when we finally see each other again? Oh, come on, he's not my brother. I'm allowed to look. She grinned and grabbed my arm, pulling me away from the office and down the hall. You're gross. Nope, like I said, I'm allowed. In fact, I'm thinking later today I need to catch up with Spencer a bit. She waggled her eyebrows suggestively. Jeez. I say again, ew. She just laughed at my discomfort. Yeah, I'm that's the sort of thing I really don't want to know. If someone likes my brother, that's fine. Just don't tell me about it. Thank you. I couldn't keep the smile off my face. We kept in touch, but this was my first time actually seeing her in a long while. So, how's the unpacking going? I was going to call this weekend, but I figured you'd be busy. We're nearly done. Mom's been a total slave driver. It's kind of scary. I remember how she is. I actually thought about coming over to help, but, well, then I remembered how she is. You're the worst friend. Nah, I'm a great friend, and I'm super glad you're back. This is going to be a great year. I'm glad to be back, too. Now, do I have to warn you about... I heard you were back in town. That voice. Shot Allie a look, and she gave me an apologetic smile in return. I assumed she had been intending to warn me about this. Kara, hope you managed to stick around for the full year. Wouldn't want you to end up getting lost again as soon as you get back in town. Well, there goes the idea that people have forgotten about that. Another choice. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, absolutely. I don't care. It's great if you like him. Just don't tell me about it. Stay silent. I looked at Allie, but she just shrugged. There wasn't much to say. It was obvious Kara was still bitter, but I wasn't in the mood to fight with anyone else this morning, so I kept my mouth shut. Anyway, they're pretty strict on attendance these days. Teachers aren't too keen on people who just take off for attention whenever they want, so you might want to be careful. No one is going to believe convenient amnesia either. Not this time. She walked past, not even bothering to attempt a fake smile. She just glared. I let out a long sigh. Well, at least she's sincere in her dislike. Good grief, though. What a thing to come back to. My family had moved away before we'd had a chance to work things out, but maybe I should have tried to mend fences with her before we got back. I hadn't expected her to still be mad, though. As it was, that was just another thing to feel guilty for. At the very least, I was sorry that her relationship with Allie soured because of me as well. They clearly weren't exactly buddies anymore, either. Sorry about that. I was just getting around to warning you about her. Allie pulled me down the hall in the opposite direction of Kara. Don't apologize. I can't believe she's mad. Normal people don't get mad about things like that. Well, you know she thinks I was trying to mess things up for her intentionally because I was jealous. That's ridiculous. Maybe, but she wasn't the only one. Half the town thought I was just some guy for attention, remember? Oh, whatever. Anyone who knew you at the time should have known better. That includes Kara. And that's when Spencer started hating me too, so maybe they know something I don't. I gave her a tired smile. Come on, perk up. You can't look all grumpy on your first day. I know. So what's your first class? Literature, Mrs. Roberts. Same! I was relieved. Being around someone who actually wanted me there might make my morning suck a little less. You love her. Come on. She dragged me the rest of the way to class. I immediately scanned for certain unfriendly faces, but was relieved that neither Spencer nor Kara was anywhere to be seen. I did see some other familiar faces, though. Oh, it's Danny and Elliot. They were sitting on the far side of the room, surrounded by a group of friends who seemed to be taking great pleasure in prodding Elliot awake when he nodded off. He is definitely not a morning person. Elliot's purple hair and black clothes stuck out like a sore thumb among Danny and the rest of the clean-cut, sporty guys. I got the feeling Danny was the main reason he was in that group. Unlike Elliot, who looked out of place, Danny fit in perfectly. I couldn't help but wonder how those two had become friends. They were so different. So, I'm gonna talk to one of the boys. I'm not gonna bother with the teacher. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Two. Try to talk to Danny. Danny happened to look my way after another round of laughter, and I caught his eye. I waved slightly, giving him a hopeful smile. He brightened and shot me a blinding smile in return, causing a few others to turn and look my way as he waved me over enthusiastically. I didn't really like big groups of people much, but I still kind of wanted to stop and say hello, even though it didn't look like there were any empty seats near him anyway. There was a jumble of queries about who I was, and while I couldn't hear the response, I assumed he and Elliot were explaining to everyone that I had moved next door. It boiled my mood to see that someone besides Allie also seemed glad to see me, especially after dealing with Spencer and Kara already that morning. Unfortunately, before I could go over and say hello, Allie grabbed my arm and dragged me towards Mrs. Roberts. Come on, I'll introduce you before class starts. Danny looked a little disappointed but also amused as I was dragged away. I mouthed sorry to him and he shook his head, grinning slightly as he waved. I hoped we'd at least be able to catch up sometime later. Allie introduced me to Mrs. Roberts, who gave me a quick rundown of what the class was studying at the moment. Totally all mentally jumping. I love Danny and Elliot. Well, I mean, they seem to have an interesting friendship going. A Midsummer Night's Dream. I'd read it last year, actually, so catching up wouldn't be that difficult. Wait a minute. Gilded Shadows. There's a reference to that. We have an empty seat at the front of the class and several at the back. You may take your pick. She shot my friendly smile that made me feel quite at ease. I suspected that I'd like her. And welcome back to Stone Circle, Miss Blumenthal. Thanks, I'm really glad to be back. Unfortunately, none of the seating options were near people I knew, which was a little disappointing. It looks like she has everyone paired up for group work. The seat up at the front was next to a sort of grumpy-looking, well-dressed blonde. He didn't look extremely friendly. There were also 2 empty seats of paired desks at the back and 1 open seat next to a gloomy boy with messy brown hair. He didn't even look up as Mrs. Roberts explained my choices. I should probably take the seat that at least gives me a reading partner. But both options just looked like so much fun. Blonde guy kind of reminds me of you, actually. Let's go with the brown-haired boy. Obviously, after I finish the demo, I'm going to play through and pick the options I didn't take the first time around. Felt uncomfortable at the idea of sitting next to the blonde. He didn't look especially friendly and was kind of reading vibes that screamed, "Don't sit here!" I decided to follow my intuition on that one. Instead, I shuffled past him and headed to the back. Literature was my favorite subject, so it shouldn't matter if I sat in the front or not anyway. I slid onto the desk next to the brown-haired boy, wondering why every desk around him was empty. He looked up with surprise when I sat down. I shivered slightly as I set my backpack on the floor. That's weird. Is there a draft back here? Glanced up at the ceiling, but there was no vent overhead. It was definitely really cold, though. It wasn't just my imagination, because the brown-haired boy was still wearing a jacket and scarf. I probably have to remember to bring an extra layer tomorrow, too. Oh, I had a teacher in 8th grade, so I was around 12 or 13, who kept his classroom freezing cold. So my twin and I had to take jackets to school with us, even in the middle of summer, just because we were so cold in his classroom. And he wore shorts. Did not make sense at all. Just my luck. Caught the boy's eye and shot him a smile. It's kind of cold back here, huh? Gentle brown eyes gazed at me from under his long fringe. He looked away quickly, chewing his lower lip. You shouldn't have chosen that seat. He mumbled something, but it was too quiet for me to hear. I didn't get a chance to ask him to repeat it before the teacher started talking again. Today we'll be continuing our reading of A Midsummer Night's Dream with our partners. William, if you'd be so good as to share your book with Lily for today. His head shot up and he stared at me with an expression that looked vaguely like horror. I smiled awkwardly. Shy, I hope? Sorry to be a bother. He looked away quickly, but it was hard not to notice how his ears went red. Definitely shy. That was a relief. Shyness I could handle. I studied this play last year, so I'm already familiar with it. I've also read it before. Oh, good. So this should be pretty easy. He chewed his lip before looking up at me seriously. You should ask if you can move up front tomorrow. Most people don't like sitting by me. Wait, is he mad I sat here? No, I don't think that was it. He didn't look angry, just sort of miserable. He definitely struck me as the awkward sort, but that didn't explain the other empty chairs around him. Surely people wouldn't refuse to sit by him just because he was a little shy, right? I don't think I'll mind sitting here. I lowered my voice to a whisper. The guy up front looked sort of cranky. William's lips twitched slightly, but he didn't quite smile. I don't mind if you stay, but if you ever want to move, I'll understand. It's fine, really. Don't worry about that. Anyway, where did you leave off reading? Why is he so convinced I'll want to move? Is he being bullied? That didn't seem right either. Now Danny and Elliot and Allie in class with him. Danny and Elliot didn't seem the types to bully someone or put up with others doing it, and I knew Allie wasn't. Weird. I was nearly to the start of Act 4. I have an anthology of Shakespeare's works, so I could probably actually get up and go find where they are. Okay, great. We'll just start there then. Alright. We spent the next 4 or 5 minutes taking turns reading. I was really surprised at how confident he was once we got to work. His voice was so quiet that at times I had to lean closer just to hear him, but he read without stumbling over the sometimes complex dialogue. I expected him to be more hesitant, but it seemed like it was just conversation he was great at. I remember when we read Romeo and Juliet in freshman year of high school, so I was that was 13 or 14, I can't remember what part of the year. And Julius Caesar, I think, sophomore year, so that was the following year. And I think both times we read the play out loud, like we took, I don't remember if we had people assigned specifically for different characters, or if it's like just for that day, like we generally read them as a class. We didn't read them with partners. Anyway, it was nice to have a decent reading partner considering how a lot of people made a big fuss about hating Shakespeare. I quickly found myself feeling quite pleased with my seating choice. He seemed to relax as time passed as well, even if it was a bit cold. When class was nearing its end, I looked up at the clock and stretched. I made a lot of progress today. A soft thud next to my seat caught my attention. Glanced down at the floor and saw that my pencil case where I kept my drawing pencils had somehow fallen out of my book bag. Huh, I thought I closed that. I leaned down to pick it up and put it back in. Is everything okay? Yeah, I just noticed something fell out of my bag. Moments later the bell rang and the rest of class immediately packed up and vacated. William and I were both slower to gather our things. Anyway, I was trying to say that you're good at this. Thank you. I actually have a big soft spot for Shakespeare. Pretty much everyone I know thinks it's weird. It's not weird, I mean. I don't think it's weird anyway. I also like Shakespeare. Aw, that's kind of sucky, but I mean, obviously, I still have trouble reading stuff. I don't remember if I ever read any of the Shakespeare in class. Pretty sure I did, but I was usually one of the better people to read out loud, just because I loved reading, so from a young age, I was always reading above my grade level. I'm glad. It's more fun to sit by someone who also likes it. I'll see you later. Sure. See you. Our eyes met again, and he gave me the sweetest smile before heading out the door. No matter what he said, I didn't think I would regret sitting by him at all. Anyone who liked Shakespeare couldn't be that bad at the very least. I leaned to pick up my book bag, and my pencil case was laying on the floor next to it. Yeah, that's great when the teacher can get everyone interested in the book. I was really bad at keeping up with the reading in high school. But we didn't realize until later it's because I had ADHD, so if a book wasn't interesting to me, I didn't read it. I couldn't force myself to read it, but as I went through high school, each year I did more and more of the reading. And my senior year of high school, I was able to do all of the reading. I just picked this up. Maybe I didn't put it in all the way. Frowning slightly, I picked it up and put it securely in my book bag. Allie was over in one corner, surrounded by people I didn't know, so I decided to just head to my next class and catch her later. I was pretty sure trigonometry was on the same floor as literature, but it had been several years since I was last here, and I'd never actually come to the high school wing. I wasn't entirely sure where I was going. Why is it so crowded? I was jostled across the hall by the crowd, trying to aim for a nearly empty spot by an open door. I reached it at the same time as a pale-haired girl in a blue coat. We nearly ran into each other, but she caught me by the shoulders, preventing an embarrassing collision. Careful! Wait, that voice, that's a guy? I stared up at him somewhat in awe. He was so pretty. How could a guy be that pretty? He smiled down at me. Are you okay? Didn't mean to nearly crash into you. Oh, yes, sorry, I'm okay. Quickly straightened and tried to get my bearings. I don't remember it being this. Watch it! Someone very nearly sheared my nose off with his backpack. I don't think they even heard me shout. Is it always this crowded between classes? Jeez. The nice thing about my high school is that it was fairly new. I don't remember. For a long time, it was just one high school for my whole town. And then they built 3 or 4 more in the space of 10, 15 years. So my high school was pretty spacious. And it was basically the classrooms were several buildings and built around a quad, basically. So didn't really have to worry about it being crowded, but it did get crowded at times. But not to the point that I wasn't feared for my life. No, I feared for my life when I had to walk from the gym to my science class, which were at opposite ends of the campus. I was actually late, and the teacher actually locked me out of the classroom a couple times because I couldn't exactly run because that was against the rules, and I have short legs. So I ended up I got a detention for that. 2 high schools in the same building? Oh, that sucks. But yeah, I got a detention, and he was in charge of the after-school work program, so I was supposed to do that. But it rained that day, so we just sat in the classroom, and he had us write essays about why we had the detention and what we were going to do to fix that. And I basically was like, I had a detention because I was late too many times because I am walking from the gym to the science building, which is the other end of the campus, and I have short legs and I can only walk so fast. It was very passive aggressive. But I did make more of an effort to walk faster. Hey, can I ask wish me luck? Before I could finish, the boy bounded away from the wall and, oh no! I squeezed my eyes shut as he nearly bowled over 2 brunettes twice his size. I expected him to bounce off and go sprawling, but he somehow managed to dodge and bowl over someone smaller than himself instead. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? I watched him fuss over the girl for a few seconds before hurrying off down the hall, squeezing his way through the crowd. He seemed pretty popular. Everyone waved and called to him as he bounced through. It didn't take long to learn his name was Corvinifila because people kept shouting it as they said hello. That's an unusual name. As I got ready to braid the tide of students myself, I noticed a book had fallen in the middle of the hallway, right where Corvin had run into that girl. Oh, shoot, did he drop that? No one else appeared to have noticed it there. I hesitated for a moment. I didn't want to just leave it, but I was really doubtful of my ability to get across the hall and pick something up off the floor without getting steamrolled by the crowd. I was going to be late if I waited until the hall cleared to get it. Still, it was going to get damaged if I just left it in the middle of the floor. I should probably either return it to Corbin or get it to the office. Oh boy. One, two, three, four. 4. Dive into the sea of students. Someone clipped the edge of the book with their foot as they walked past, sending it sliding across the tile toward the end of the lockers. Couldn't watch anymore. At this rate, it would be ruined. I shifted my backpack slightly and practically threw myself into the crowd. Pretty boy could do it, so could I. Probably. It wasn't quite as easy as he made it seem, probably because he was at least 6 inches taller than me. Not that I was short or anything, it was just really crowded. I jostled my way through the hurried students, and losing an eye to a wayward backpack at least once. When I finally neared the other side of the hall, I made a sort of dive around the corner for the book. I had white blonde hair came into my field of view was seconds too late. I wasn't able to halt my momentum before our skulls cracked against each other. Oof! Hug! I crouched on the floor, seeing stars as I clutched my head. Pretty boy was back, and his head must have been made of titanium. Jeez. Maybe I need to start wearing a helmet, right? Ow. Oh my god, are you okay? Are you okay? I didn't see you. Wow, he was 2 for 2 when it came to running into me at this point. If he kept this up, I was going to have to start considering the possibility that either he and I were soulmates or he'd somehow become magnetized in the last 10 minutes. I blinked rapidly, waiting for my vision to come back fully before I answered. A pair of large hands closed on my shoulders and started shaking me. Are you alright? Can you see me? Do I need to get you to the office? Ugh, please stop shaking me. Sorry, you just weren't answering, so I was worried. I rubbed my forehead and peered at the blonde boy with one eye. We stared at each other for a long moment. He really had the most amazing green eyes. Shoot, I dropped my glasses. He started looking around wildly for the glasses that were right by his knee. I picked them up and handed them over. Shoved them onto his face and looked at me again, smiling this time. I think you dropped a book earlier. I was trying to get it so I could return it to you. Oh yeah, I just came back for it and... He blinked suddenly, giving me another long look. When did you see me drop it? Earlier, when you ran into that girl. Right. It was kind of crowded, though. You must have a good eye. Well, I was watching since we nearly ran into each other, and he sort of Geronimo'd out into the crowd right after. Oh yeah, we ran into each other over there too. Guess our meeting was meant to be. Thanks for trying to save my book. That was sweet. He shoved it into his backpack before standing and offering me his hand. I took it and pulled myself to my feet, if only because I was still a bit dizzy from that epic headbutt. Thanks. He didn't immediately let go of my hand, but instead pulled me slightly closer, peering very seriously into my eyes. Whoa. I felt my face heating up again under his scrutiny. What's your name? I'm Lily. I tried to pull my hand away, and he instantly released it, smiling slightly. He reached up and gently brushed my hair away from my cheek. He chuckled softly. Well, I'm glad to have met you, Lily. Before I could say much else, he was called away by another boy and darted off, leaving me staring after him. Whoa, what was that? Holding hands with someone on the first day? I'm impressed. I shook myself out of that daze and glared at Allie. We weren't holding hands, he was helping me stand. Right. Whoa, what happened to your head? Oh, that guy. I think his name's Corbin. He and I sort of ran into each other. Nice. Yeah, if you're going to find a crazy way to introduce yourself to a guy, going with something classic works. I did not bash my head into his just to meet him. Right, but he's pretty cute, yeah? I rolled my eyes. Whatever, can you show me where Trig is before we're both late? You still suck with directions, come on. My next two classes were fairly boring, at least when it came to academic content. When it came to social interaction, though, it was definitely a different story. First of all, Corbin was in trigonometry. Trig in high school. I'm assuming, since they're talking about high school, that this is the U.S. I don't know if subject requirements are different in other parts of the U.S., but trig was not required. We were only required to take 3 years of math when I was in high school. He didn't seem to notice me at all, though. Not that I was surprised. I had definitely been right about him being popular. He was surrounded by others before class started. The crowd around Danny in literature was nothing compared to the amount of people vying for Corbin's attention. It's a little weird, actually. On top of that, he was a complete and total klutz. He dropped his pencil a dozen times, tripped over his own feet, and at one point somehow landed on another student's desk face first. At most schools, he probably would have been a laughingstock, but not so much here. In fact, other students sort of fawned over him every time he hurt himself. 3 different people offered to escort him to the nurse for an ice pack after he fell. He's kind of an airhead, but I guess he must have been really, really nice to have that many friends and admirers. It's probably cynical to think it might just be the way he hemorrhaged compliments. Corbin's antics aside, Spencer was in both trig and chemistry. Couldn't help but wonder how having 2 classes with me must have impacted how good a day he was having. And if watching him alternate between declaring and pretending I didn't exist wasn't bad enough, Kara was also in chemistry with us. Oh, lovely. The moment she saw me and gave me a smug little grin, I knew something was up. Well, I was kind of sad we hadn't managed to patch things up. I was okay with her not liking me. Had regular and online classes in both high schools? Huh. We didn't do online classes, but when I was in high school, that was before the internet was really huge like it is now. And I'm revealing my age. Let's just say that I graduated before 9/11 from high school. I wasn't okay with her trying to pick fights and cause problems just for the sake of doing it. It didn't take long to work out what she was up to. I hadn't even gotten to my desk when 2 people introduced themselves as Luke and Emery, practically set up camp nearby to pepper me with questions about the whole childhood disappearing act. I didn't remember either of them, so I didn't think there were students who were at the school when it happened, and yet they definitely got a pretty detailed version of what had happened from somewhere. Damn it, Kara. So, do you really not remember what happened to you while you were missing? I heard you were attacked by a bear or something. Someone said you were the only witness to a murder out there, but none of the other victims were ever found. Do you think you blocked it all out because of the trauma? Is it true the police questioned you guys because they thought you tried to kill each other? I shot Spencer a quick look at that one. Is that how you got injured or whatever? Spencer was gritting his teeth, glaring at me. Not good. I could practically see the red flashing light above his head, declaring a level 7 nuclear event was imminent. Is there any way we can just not talk about this? Come on, we're just curious. I sighed, trying to figure out a diplomatic way to tell him to shut the heck up before my brother had a meltdown. It was a really long time ago. We just got back into town and are trying to settle in. If y'all hear different things, it's called rumors. Absolutely. There isn't much to tell anyway, but I think we'd rather not talk about it all the same. Everyone, please take your seats. At the teacher's words, everyone reluctantly retreated, leaving Spencer and me alone. I was trying to look anywhere but at him. I honestly hadn't expected anyone to bring this stuff up again. My gaze fell on Kara, who was still giving me that same smile. Of course, if someone was intentionally trying to bring it all up again, then it was no wonder people were interested. Yeah, it's none of your business. We don't know each other. I don't know you. It's the first day of class. I'm trying to get settled in. Leave me the heck alone. I sighed. Trying to stir rumors up using that, of all things, was literally the most pointless endeavor. Fortunately, by the time class released, everyone seemed more interested in getting to the cafeteria before the lines got too long. Or maybe the average student's attention span wasn't long enough to remember that Spencer and I had an interesting backstory. Regardless, the class emptied quickly, leaving me to find my way to the cafeteria alone. It didn't take me too long. The students crowding into the door were that giveaway. Allie was nowhere in sight, unfortunately, so I just grabbed a more or less decent-looking sandwich and found an empty spot to leave us eat alone. I was so thrilled to be doing that on my first day. I barely touched my lunch when someone dropped a leather satchel on the table in front of me. I looked up and ran into the blue eyes of the blonde guy from literature, the cranky one from the front of the class. The look on his face was not encouraging. Sort of that look a person gets when they step on something really gross, like chewed up gum. And of course it's directed at me. Already glad I'm not sitting by him in class. This is where I sit. For lunch. This is where I sit for lunch, so you can go elsewhere. Nope. I was definitely not going to let him talk to me like that. What a charmer. How about no? I was here first. He leaned down and placed both hands on the table, glaring at me. Excuse me, my dude. I do not see your name engraved on the table. I swallowed nervously, my bravado evaporating instantly. Okay, scary. I don't care. I said you can leave. Hey, Mark. Hey, Lily. I was relieved when a familiar face showed up, flinging an arm across the blonde's shoulders as he grinned down at me. Hey, Danny. I didn't get a chance to say hi in literature. It's okay. You were surrounded, and Allie was either going to introduce me to the teacher or pull my arm out of its socket if I didn't comply. Haha, glad you chose to comply then. Yeah, autonomy wasn't quite worth losing an arm. Mark shrugged away from Danny's arm and brushed off his sleeve, glaring at us both in turn. So you two know each other? Do you think you can kindly ask her to leave my table? Danny gave Mark a pained look, but the blonde boy didn't budge. Come on, Mark. She's new. You can at least give it a week before you start drawing lines everywhere and declaring where your territory is. I prefer eating alone. You know that. Danny sighed. Right. Yes, I do remember that. He gave me an apologetic smile. I was getting used to seeing that sort of smile from him. At least this time it didn't involve me getting hit in the head. In any case, I was going to see if you wanted to come eat with me and Elliot and everyone else. Mark can be sort of antisocial, but he's not a bad guy. He doesn't mean any harm. Uh-huh. Of course he didn't. He was just really kicking me out of his spot and trying to intimidate me. I stood. I didn't really get why I should have to put up with people being rude to me for no reason. I wasn't really up for a pity invite to the popular table. Thanks anyway. I think I lost my appetite. Fortunately, I hadn't unloaded anything from my backpack, so I just snatched it up and started away from the table. I wanted to ignore Danny's frown, but there was something inherently puppy dog about it that warranted some kind of response. Thanks for the offer, really. I'm just not up for it right now. I left the cafeteria without another word, and no one came after me. Not that I really expected otherwise. I decided to just go somewhere quiet and read for the rest of lunch. And by read, I meant sulk. Half the time I spent my lunch in the library. In high school. And middle school, too. elementary school, we kind of all stuck in the cafeteria. The day was definitely not going how I had planned. Yeah, sometimes I sat by myself, but I found places to hang out with other students. I got involved in theater in high school, and so I would sometimes sit in the theater teacher's office during lunch, and one of my English teachers, I ended up being her student assistant, and I would sometimes spend lunch in her classroom. She let some of us hang out there. So it's not like I only went to the library. But I love to read, so it was a great place to just sit and do that. The rest of my day was uneventful. I only had to talk about my incidents in, well, every single class, and it was the same battery of questions every time. Did I really lose my memory? What did I really see in the woods? Why did Spencer get questioned by the police? Did he really get attacked by an animal, or was it me? Did I see murder? Was I abducted by aliens? I didn't have a laptop at that point. My parents we didn't start actually having our own computers until we started attending college. I still couldn't believe someone actually asked me the last one. I made a mental note to stay far, far away from that kid. I couldn't avoid talking about it every time. Some students were relentless. Eventually it just settled into the same rote answers. Yes, I really lost my memory. No, I don't know what I saw, but I was pretty sure it wasn't a murder. The police were trying to cover all their bases, but Spencer had nothing to do with it. He really was attacked by something, but it wasn't me. As far as I was aware, no aliens were involved. Most people opted to leave me alone when they realized they weren't going to get any juicy details out of me, so otherwise there were no major problems. At any rate, no one else decided to be blatantly rude to me. What I really wanted to do was grab Allie and talk to her about what happened at lunch, but I didn't get a chance. As much as she was glad to have me back, we didn't have any afternoon classes together. So basically just literature. It was a little lonely, to be honest, especially since the day was such a mixed bag. I knew I'd settle in. I knew the rumors would die out no matter how much Carr or anyone else tried to stir them up. There's just nothing to really talk about anyway. I knew first days were usually kind of rough, but I couldn't deny I'd been hoping for better. My head was pounding by the time I made my way to my locker and dumped the last of my newly assigned textbooks in it. I stood quietly for a moment, head leaning against the side as I geared myself up for the tense ride home. The only lockers at my high school were for gym class. I didn't even bother putting any in. The middle school I attended had lockers, but they were locked up. We had to carry all of our books. So that was fun. Hey, Lily. Turned hesitantly at the sound of my name, but sighed in relief when it was only Elliot. A familiar and, most importantly, friendly face. I gave him a tired smile. Hi. Whoa, you okay? You look, kind of pale. Are you feeling sick? I'm fine. You sure? You're looking kind of anemic. I'm not anemic, just tired. It was a long day. Yeah, I heard, a lot of kids were talking about you and your brother all day. Yeah, tell me about it. I just wanted to take a look at his character design. I slammed my locker door and hefted my book bag to my shoulder. I also saw what happened at lunch. Yeah, about that. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm not mad at anyone over that. Are you sure? Yeah, like I said, it wasn't a big deal. Okay, just don't take it personally, okay? Everyone here has their stories. You know what I mean? I suppose I should know about that better than anyone. And don't worry about people talking about you. I mean, they'll stop. Soon. Probably. Encouraging. Well, I couldn't complain. He was trying to cheer me up, and that was sweet. I'm sure they will. I rubbed my head and gave him another exhausted smile. I should go. The evil twin is probably already waiting impatiently for me. Okay, I have a club meeting I need to get to. I really hope you feel better. Yeah, We definitely didn't need lockers in elementary school because we the books were part of a classroom set, and if there was any homework, it was usually like a packet or something. But there was this whole thing about lockers being used for drugs or something. I forget exactly why, but they were phased out. We actually went to we didn't go to the middle school that was closest to us. That's like basically up the street from us. But I know that one, the lockers were outdoors and they basically just took them out, so all that was left was the concrete slabs they stood on. And the middle school we did go to, they were at the ends of the buildings with the classrooms, and there were rolling doors that just slid down in front of them, so they kept them locked, so no one could get at the lockers. And the high school that I did attend, since it was fairly new and it was after the declaration that lockers were basically banned, they didn't bother installing them. I don't know about the other high school that was the only one in our town for decades. Okay, another decision. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Four. Have fun at your club. Okay, well, have fun at your club then. Maybe I should try to enter a club too. It's not really the sort of club you have fun at usually, but I'll try. He waved and darted off down the hall towards the stairwell. What sort of club isn't meant for fun? I wondered if the office had a list of clubs I could register for. Of course, I'd have to coordinate with Spencer or get a ride from someone, so I might want to wait until I was a little more settled in. But it might be nice to get involved in something during my last year. At any rate, I made my way outside, keeping an eye out for Spencer as I went. I wasn't looking forward to the drive home at all, but this time I'd just stay quiet. I don't think I can handle another argument today. My nerves were already pretty frayed. I jogged across the front lawn towards the parking lot and spotted my head. If anything, Spencer complained that I made him wait would just make my headache worse anyway. I immediately spotted the car. It looked like Spencer was already waiting. I picked up the pace. When I got home, I was just going to go upstairs and immediately crash. And sleep. Wait, what is he doing? I was still at least 20 yards from him, so why was Spencer already backing out of the parking space? Does he not see me? I waved one arm as I ran, wondering if he thought I was getting a ride with Allie or something. He froze mid-wave as he pulled out of the space, looked right at me, and drove off. No way, my dude, that is not cool. Are you kidding me? I very nearly threw my backpack on the ground and had a tantrum right there in full view of everyone. Yanking my phone out, I sent him a flurry of angry texts. What are you doing? You looked right at me. Hello, are you coming back to get me? Stop ignoring me. 10 minutes later, there's still no answer. I tried calling twice, but he didn't pick up. Tears of frustration stung my eyes as I clutched my backpack so hard the strap cut into my hand. He wasn't coming back. He just left me there while looking right at me. The parking lot was rapidly emptying, but I was not going to stand there and cry in front of everyone. Trembling with fury, I stormed away to find a place to calm down, think, and plot how I was going to murder my brother in his sleep. Yeah, definitely. It's one thing if you're just pissed for one reason or another, but leaving her stranded at school when you're her only way of getting home. After I figured out how I was going to get home, I could text Mom, but she and Dad were both at work. Grandma and Grandpa would be busy too. I flopped down under a tree near the back corner of the parking lot. Allie said she had a club meeting, so I didn't think she could give me a ride unless I waited for her to finish. I didn't know anyone else well enough to ask. I bit my lower lip hard and looked up quickly, trying to blink away the tears before they spilled over. But there was no one nearby, and unless someone walked right past me, I didn't think I'd be easily seen. I finally gave in and buried my face in my knee, sobbing quietly, half from anger and half from sheer disappointment. The whole day had just kind of sucked. I felt stupid for being so glad to be back. Are you crying? Shoot. I looked up, hastily wiping at my face as I wondered who was crashing my little pity party. A super tall guy in a leather jacket was standing nearby looking down at me. I hadn't even heard him walk up. I'm fine. I rubbed the back of my hand across my eyes, feeling pathetic. There was no way he'd believe I wasn't crying. Really? I nodded vigorously, but from his tone it was obvious he knew it wasn't true. He scoffed. Whatever. Turned away and walked to a motorcycle parked nearby. I can't believe someone caught me crying. How middle school of me. I watched him set the helmet on the seat and stow his backpack. Probably shouldn't have stared, but it was kind of rude, so I was going to stare all I wanted. If I was going to revert back to middle school with my behavior, I might as well take it all the way. He paused and glanced my way again. I watched him grab something and stalk back over. He tossed me something square and rectangular to me. I barely managed to catch it. Tissues. Thanks. Okay, maybe he's actually a nice guy. He shrugged. Is there a reason you're sitting back here crying? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. Yes. Yes, there is. I glared up at him, daring him to try to pry further. Yeah, I'm on the verge of crying just on her behalf because that is a shitty thing to do. My twin would give me drive us to school because I didn't have my license, but she did. But she never did something shitty like that. He just sort of looked amused, but not all intimidated. I guess I couldn't blame him. How tall was he anyway? I was going to strain my neck looking up at him. Thanks for the tissues, I mean, not for badgering me about crying. I wasn't badgering, I was asking. That's not a problem. I'm Ewan, by the way. Ewan, That was an interesting name. Ewan. Lily. He just nodded and crouched next to me. I don't recognize you. I'm new, sort of. I used to live here a few years ago, but I just moved back. Ah, you're that girl. I gave him a questioning look, but he just shrugged. I overheard some kids talking about a new girl. Something about some disappearances a few years back. Again? That's me. I see. We look more normal than I expected. What's that supposed to mean? Hey, I was just about to leave. Are you waiting for a ride? Do you need a lift or something? Oh, I don't, my brother ditched me, so I don't know yet. I'm still trying to figure out how to get home. I'll give you a ride if you don't mind riding a motorcycle. I have never ridden one before. I'm not going to force you. Bit my lip. I couldn't accept a ride from someone I didn't know, but at the same time, I didn't know if anyone else could come get me. Actually, I have to grab a different dice. But I had one. There we go. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was cocked. 6. Try to text your mom. I was about to reject everyone's offer and just text mom or walk home when my phone chimed. I rapidly dug it out of my backpack and checked the messages. It was Dad. Where are you? Are you at the school? Yes. Your brother? My dad. I think he's figured out something is weird. Don't go anywhere. I'll be there in 5 minutes. I sighed in relief. It looks like he's on his way to get me. Thanks for the offer, though. I really appreciate it. Don't mention it. I guess I'll see you later, then. Good luck with your brother. He said a quick goodbye and left. I saw Dad's car just as Ewan was turning out of the parking lot. He looked furious as he pulled to a stop near the sidewalk. I grabbed my book bag and hurried toward him, hoping I didn't still look like I'd been crying. He took off quickly and drove in silence for several minutes. How did you know I was still here? I didn't. Grandma was at the house during the last of the cleaning when Spencer got home without you. It didn't take long to figure out what happened. Ah, do you want to talk about it? Which part? The part where he drove away while looking right at me? Not really. I sounded bitter, but I couldn't help it. I was feeling pretty bitter just then. Did you guys fight this morning? It wasn't a fight, really. It was just tense, but when is it not? He hates me. He doesn't hate you. Tears were stinging my eyes again. Look, I know you're trying. I just wish you two could work this out, whatever it is. That's hard to do when one person refuses to talk about it. I can't change what happened, but I don't think it's fair that he blames me like this. I know that, honey. It's probably just being overly sensitive, but I noticed I didn't say it wasn't my fault. Anyway, he won't do this again. He's going to spend the next month working his butt off for me. Trash duty, kitchen duty, and working at the showroom without pay. Maybe it'll give him time to figure things out. I gave him a teary smile. Harsh. Not as harsh as leaving you at school on the first day. Oh, so if it was the second day, it would have been okay? Maybe just worth a week of hard work? Dad scowled at me, but he wasn't serious. I could see the smile threatening to break through. Smart Alec. I know, it's a tough job, but I try. And was going to suggest we stop for ice cream, but gave him the best puppy eyes I could muster. Ice cream would definitely fix at least some of the outer ruin. That was my first day at school. Under one condition. What's that? Get Spencer's favorite and refuse to share. Ha ha, you're evil. I've learned a few tricks from your mother. Fortunately, Spencer and I had the same favorite ice cream. By the time we got home, Mom was there. I could hear her lecturing Spencer from the driveway. It didn't make the day any better, but there were worse ways to end the day than eating ice cream with Dad while listening to Mom rant at Spencer in the family room. Okay, it's almost 2 o'clock, my time. So we've been at this for almost 2 hours, and I can feel my voice fading. So that's it for today. So if this follows the same pattern as Gilded Shadows, I should finish the demo next week. And then I haven't decided if I'm going to play the demo for When Stars Collide and then play Fairy Tale or what. But we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. I did plan to stream on Wednesday, but stuff happened and I was just like, no, I need a rest. I will. I have plans for what I'm streaming on Wednesdays, but it's just getting started. Ow. Come on. Sorry, putting something away. Just have to find the time. So, so that's it for this week. I will be back next week for sure. If anyone watching this is a mother, happy Mother's Day to you. And I hope you have a good Mother's Day, whether it's with your biological mother or some other mother figure. Because I know not everyone have great families, great relationships with their parents. So thank you to the people who joined me, and if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I was looking at the analytics for Gilded Shadows, and those are probably the videos with the most views. I was really surprised. So take care, everyone, and have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Bye!